hosting this event here today. I want to thank you for coming out. I know you could have been doing many other things besides being here, but because we are observing the 60th anniversary of the Roman Republic, also known as the Zion anniversary, we appreciate your presence here today. Uh, we will begin by asking Martin to lead us in a word of prayer. Go ahead. So,
Coming alongside us, able. Father God, we gather in your presence to give most thanks and gratitude to have a beloved elder in our midst today as we celebrate 60 years of our native land's independence. Independence. Father God, we ask as we listen to the elder, we will get some words of wisdom that we can leave here in better knowledge of our dear land of Guyana. Father God, we ask that you bless everything that we do today. Bless Brother Eusi Kwayana. Bless his son, Kofi, who takes such good care, and for allowing us to be with us at this moment. Father, this and everything we lift up to you in no other name, the precious name of Jesus Christ the Lord, and we say, Amen. Amen.
thank you, Marlon. You go right into the have a seat. You guys. Okay, thanks for being here. Thanks, Babu, for being here. Uh, we will go right into the program. Basically, what we're doing this afternoon, it's a interaction. We're here to reflect and reminisce and talk about our country from 1965 to today. This is not a lecture. It's just a discussion, so to speak. So what I like to do, everybody is aware or know of Baba Yusi, and we know of his political, social, and economic struggles and warfare. But what I would prefer to do is to put his son on the spot and to ask Kofi to give us another aspect of his life. He being the son, we are all aware of his political struggle, the father's political struggle, but what growing up in the home as a son and having a father out there involved in the struggle, what was life like home to in the home? So Kofi, I can do you like just like you do them with 89.3. By the way, let me do a quick word for 89.3. Kofi, better known as the farm. That's a radio station that does a lot of introspection. You get the audio news that you don't get the commercial station, and it's very Caribbean oriented. So please, whenever you have the time, 89.3 FM, a community-based station, um, come out and show some support. So Kofi, I can ask you to speak on your dad before you get into it.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I was
Speak up so you can hear.
okay. You can hear me, Baba? Baba? Oh, this good close to you. Can you hear me, Baba? You can hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. I try to talk.
I must say that people talking about my hair, the voice goes elsewhere. I don't hear it too clearly.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I appreciate putting me on the spot. Greetings to our elders and everyone. I That's a good question that I actually appreciate because just as a student of history myself, oftentimes I've seen how people of great stature, women and men of our journey, from the time of our ancient journey, our ancient reality all the way to now, you see one aspect of them and we often don't, we take them out of human context. And for me, that's a big disaster waiting to happen because we have this kind of a Moses mentality. And that's no disrespect to the prophet Moses, but it means we're always looking for someone new to come and lead us, and we don't internalize the humanity of the people, so we don't understand that we have that same ability. And I remember just in a few brief words, you asked me to talk about my father in his presence. I remember when he wrote a book about my uncle Walter Rodney, who was assassinated in 1980, and he called him a prophet of self-emancipation. And I would say the same thing about my father. He wouldn't want to use the word prophet at all. But someone who is a harbinger, someone who is a reflection of the whole idea of self-emancipation. So that's one of the first things I would say in terms of how we grew up in the home. Very simple. We made sure that we were grounded. As I've shared before, I grew up in a time when there was food shortage at home, as many of y'all would know. And because of my parents, the love people have for them, and again, this whole leader mentality that we have, which could be beneficial, but also could be very dangerous. People would want me to cut the line. I go into the market in Buxton to get some flour or something for my mother. And people would, oh, this Kwayana son. If I ever accepted that, it was licks, and I don't have to tell you why. This is what I'm grateful for, that kind of grounding, because it cultivates a certain humility, which is not, a fake, a kind of, a facade of humility, but a true groundedness with our people, to know that we are all in this together, we are one. And so that's how I would reflect on my father. I mean, I could go for days and days, and I don't, it's not time for me to talk like that, but I would just share another memory and another reflection that I've shared often from going into prison, doing prison ministry. When, men would complain, the brothers I would be working with complain, some of them that like their wife cut them off, or the mother of the children or whatever, they're not getting them access to the children and all this kind of thing. And I would say, well, you got to beam yourself into the house. And I was able to say that because of my father's example, because this is what I know. My father was 10,000 miles away. It's something you just reflect on, you get emotional. And we were young people coming up, forced to leave the country because of the politics of the time. And I still felt like his physical presence was in the house. Continents away. And I felt like his physical presence was in the house. And for me, as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a grandfather now, even though I'm only 32, as I have children, it's like, this is an example of how you stay focused. When you're on your mission, we are spiritual people. Everybody know that. I'm preaching to the choir, right? We have a choir rehearsal. So, we are spirit primarily. So we have this ability, to really be effective and have a wide reach once we focus on our mission. He wasn't running down women or running down fame and fortune, spending time at the cocktail parties and coffee in the upper room and all that foolishness. He was focused on his mission. So I, as a young man in South Central, or not South Central California, but Gang Central, Southern California, could feel the energy of my father. because he was focused, you know. So that's what I would say in short. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
One, two, check. Baba, the family is welcoming you to share some words of reflection. It's your time. Everyone is here listening and waiting for to hear what is on your mind, what's on your heart.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Uh, Thanks for inviting me to this association meeting and inviting me to say something. I've just heard what I'm to talk about. I didn't know what I was talking about. I never speak to children without preparing, much more to an adult audience. And are you hearing me?
Yes.
I did not know what this meeting was about. I heard it was about the Association of Independence. And I found something in my mind what I would like to discuss with your permission. I can't do it without your permission because it's not strange, but you did not ask me to speak on it. What is absorbing my mind about the Guyana now? It's not so much the past as the future. Past is past, and I understand. If you ask me anything specific about the past, I will try to answer it. But for me to go roving around about the past when we are faced with a future of great uncertainty, demanding all our talents and memories and inventiveness and everything, I think it's doing ourselves an injustice. I tried earlier today to get in touch with the organizers of this event to seek their permission to draft a motion concerning Guyana and put it to this meeting for discussion and approval. I don't know if it is too late to do that. I hope not. I don't know what protocols you all have, but the thing facing Guyana right now, after the last election, which is gone, is Venezuela. Venezuela's claim to Guyana is in the court right now. They have refused to take part in it. Guyana alone is fighting the case. But in Guyana itself, what is the political situation? Division. How are we going to defend territorial integrity when the enemy knows parties are divided, standing apart from each other. That is fine. We just came out of a general election with its own results, some very weird results. For the first time, the PPP has a majority of 7. For the first time in all its history, from 1953, the one of which I was a part, right down to now. It's the first time they have a majority of 7. And we are facing a claim to 2/3 or 1/3 of Guyana. The whole of the Essequibo. The only mineral wealth is concentrated. So my reflection is in that direction. In 1953, when the Constitution was suspended, I was a minister then. The only time I was a minister in Guyana was 133 days in 1953. Some people think I was a minister later. No, never again. I was not. 133 days as Minister of Communications and Works, and I ran into some trouble with the British officials who thought that they could do what they like with the Constitution that they handed down, and I would not have it. I stood up, and some people didn't like it. So what I'm saying is that the situation in Guyana is unfortunate. We have 2 oppositions in the parliament. One was able to defeat Apnu, a new man named Mohammed. I don't know where that name or family came from, but they are now the official opposition. And the old opposition,
The microphone.
the old opposition was sidelined, defeated in the polls. We can ask why. But my point is that we cannot easily defend the territorial integrity of a country, of Guyana or any other country, unless we organize for it. We have to organize the Guyanese people for defense of the territorial integrity of Guyana. And that is not being done now. It is being done under Mr. Burnham, whom we had to fight for daily freedoms and the right to eat. But the country was being mobilized and organized in relation to this claim by Venezuela. That is how the song Not a Blade of Grass came up, through that mobilization. Not one caress, not a blade of grass. That song awoke the country and had people on their toes. And all parties were on their toes. against the Venezuelan claim. Now, let me tell you something about Venezuelan claims, because it seems that you don't mind listening to it, and there is something that is not generally known, which I will let this meeting know tonight, what part played by a very few of us after 1964, when the PPP was removed and the coalition, the Burnham and the Gar coalition, took charge of the country and pulled it out of a violent period of bloodshed. One of the first things that the new government did was to establish a rehabilitation committee. This rehabilitation, this rehabilitation commission was headed by, I think, a man named Gomes or some such thing. He was one of the minorities, a Portuguese. But the commission did excellent work in compensating people for losses they had suffered in the violence, in the years of violence, 63, 60, especially 64, 62, 63, 64. Years of violence. There are 3 years of violence, from 61 to 64, ending with the coalition. And this rehabilitation committee, I saw a lot of it because people came to us for documents, exchanging houses. Houses were being burned up right and left. They would exchange houses from remove from one district to another, switching the houses, putting the house in the name of the opposite person. Say, an Indian will give up his house in exchange for an African house for personal safety, to be in a place where his own race was in the majority. A lot of that, an exchange of houses went on. And they came to us at our school in Buxton to do some of the paperwork, some of the drafting of the agreements to exchange, and a lot of them were typed there by our typists and so on. So I know a lot about that. But the government voted money to make up for some of the losses suffered in human beings, in materials, in houses, in property, and that went on for some time, and it pacified the country. It brought kind of peace into the country, and it made people renew their faith in Guyana. So things can be done once there is the will. Now, coming back to this boundary dispute, boundary dispute was settled, as the Ghana government is saying, everybody is saying in Ghana, somewhere about 1899. there was an international arbitration or kind of court that settled the dispute between Venezuela and Britain and settled it in favor of Britain, England, which now at the time of independence had to hand over this colony to the people who were living there and demanding independence and paying taxes and all these things. And enduring colonialism for 300 years. That is how Guyana became part of the possessions of the new independent Guyana. It had been a colony of Britain. Britain won the award in 1999, and in leaving, had to hand it over to the people in the colony, people who were colonized and exploited and controlled and have fought back and are now ready to take over. Where did Venezuela come in? On the borders, they know the place had gold and they had some skirmishes. I remember as a child hearing the big people saying how the Venezuelans say, English sea dog. They called us English sea dog. And that kind of thing, I remember that from my childhood in Louisiana. But the situation today is different. Then the moment you see China Ryan saying, who was a lawyer and a member of the PNC, moved a motion in the Legislative Council that Guyana should seek from Whitehall, that is England, constitutional a constitutional conference to advance the country.
Mike, Baba. No, just holding the mic thing. Just asking you to hold it closer.
What's it?
Just asking you to hold the mic close. I'll hold it for you. You want me to hold it?
Is it working?
Yeah, it's just dropping. It's okay.
Yeah, China Ryan thing is the one who moved the motion for constitutional advance in the Legislative Council. The moment the Venezuelans saw that, those of them, the military aspect of them, they read the handwriting on the wall. The Church Times, a British paper, I remember from 1953, had published an article showing the mineral wealth of Guyana. Guyana has iron ore. Guyana has a lot of things. And many of these things are in the executable. And everybody knows that they had aerial surveys and all the deposits that are there. They have known about the oil for some years. It is not now established and is being mined and sold and all of that, but people always suspected Guyana had oil since Venezuela has oil. But Venezuela has a breed of people within it. Perhaps not the entire country, especially the military, who feel that all these things should be controlled by them. And that is the essence. So the moment people began to talk about the independence of Guyana, these military people in Venezuela had a writing on the wall and said that they should intervene and claim this place. This place is ours. This place should not go to these natives. These people, you see, the Venezuelans have a greater percentage of white people. Guyana has very few. And judged from that standpoint, we think this place is too rich. Run by Africans and Indians and uh, native so-called Amerindians, indigenous people. It is the heirs of the Europeans who should take over. And that is part of the underbelly of the claim against Essequibo, of the claim of Essequibo. But what is happening inside Guyana is that the parties continue to operate ordinarily as if nothing is happening. All that they have done is to keep Mr. Greenwich, who I think has been a foreign minister and has a lot of knowledge about the Essequibo, they kept him in a kind of cabinet post in an office to argue the case in court. He did argue it in court. He laid it out very clearly. I heard his voice laying it out. And that's that. There's no mobilization of the people to stand up and say this place is ours in answer to what is going on in Venezuela. We do not know what is going on in Venezuela. We have an ambassador there. We have an ambassador in Venezuela, Stefan Charles. I have not seen a report from him in the Guyana newspaper. We don't have reporters from Guyana going to Venezuela to tell us what the Venezuelan people are thinking. That's a very important part of the struggle. We do not know what they are thinking about the boundary dispute. We ought to be getting reports about public opinion in Venezuela. How is the country divided? Who is for and who are against? The American government the other day went to Venezuela and arrested the president and his wife and brought them to the United States of America. High class banditry. High class banditry went on. But what is the response? I think they put them on bail, they charge them with some kind of crime, and they are now on bail. But what are we doing? When the Working People's Alliance raised the question of a common front in defense of territorial integrity, they were told that there's a committee in Parliament to see about that. The committees in Parliament do nothing. They have about 40 human rights committees in Parliament, and people's human rights are being trampled right on them, and not one of them is saying a word. They have an integrity commission, and corruption is right rampant. Let me show you how the president deals with corruption. There was a minister, I don't know his name, I don't know the names of these new people. He was accused of some kind of soliciting or worse of an indigenous young woman. In other words, attempted rape or something like that. That complaint became public, and you would think there would be an inquiry. Have you heard of any inquiry? No. The president announced and said it publicly that the man went to him and asked for ministerial leave. First time I heard it on ministerial leave, he listened to the man and gave him ministerial leave as a minister. He became the commissioner of inquiry in a police case. Rape is a police matter. Policeman. Young women have to be safe. It's disgraceful. So he becomes a father figure now, and he grants the man ministerial leave. There's no inquiry, no police action. And then later on, there are rumors that the family has paid off so many million. That is, I can't think of anything worse than that. But that's how he operates. There was another case in which the same thing happened. He called in people and pretended to be a father figure and made a solution. That's not the law. That's not the law. There's this lady who got, there's this child who got drunk the other day. He said she was drunk. We don't know. Guyana has laws dating back to colonial times about how to deal with unnatural death. There's a coroner who has to hold an inquest. There's a post-mortem, and the doctors to perform the post-mortem are well known, well documented in the law. I heard the president saying that he called Prime Minister Barbados and asked her to send a doctor to carry out this post-mortem. A doctor from Barbados to carry out this post-mortem. The president has no role in that at all. Yet he inserted himself. And we have to ask why. If they know there's going to be an inquiry, an inquest in the death of that young woman, and I have told the lawyer in Guyana that I want to be part, I want to be a witness, because I want to show that President inserted himself into that procedure when the law is long laid down on natural death and who should carry out the post-mortem. He got a doctor from Barbados to do it. Why? We have to ask why. And how can that be undone? Well, the DPP has now ordered an inquest. So there's a chance to expose some of these irregularities. I'm 100 years old now. 101. And I am prepared. I'm prepared to go before that commission and explain the law that the president ignored and must explain why. I'm not saying Is anything corrupt about it? But he must explain why he broke the law. When the law is laid down, you will go and bring a doctor from Barbados to carry out a simple post-mortem examination. And then the family has brought the body here to Atlanta for another post-mortem examination, which could not be determined. So all those are offshoots. Anyway, I was telling you about what happened in 1961. If I'm if I'm talking too much, please stop me. Uh, I really don't like to talk, but when I start talking, I don't stop. Now, uh, I was making the point that in a country like this with a territorial dispute and people claiming it, the first law is unite, unite. Unite how? Establish an organization in which all parties can take part for the territorial defense of Guyana. An all-party organization defending the territory as ours. All parties should agree to that and take part in it and be active in it. And that will send a message to Venezuela. We are simply depending on the United States of America to defend us. That is what is happening there. They laid back. I understand that you had an interview with King Charles the other day in high grass. So they're floating around. The president was in Canada. They're going to all these people on their knees, and they will not organize the people at home because they want the glory for themselves alone. The PPP did this, the PPP defended the country. It's impossible. Venezuela is no better than that. We have an embassy, we have their spies that will tell them what is really going on. So I wanted this morning to speak to your organizers and your leaders about a motion at this meeting. I really would like not to come here and talk only. I would like this meeting later on. If you have time, I have time. To agree on a motion that we discussed and vote on to send to the authorities in Guyana, appealing to them to establish an all-party defense organization to defend the territorial integrity for Guyana and her children to come, generations to come. That is what I would like to come out of this meeting. If it's your meeting, if you agree to it, it's not my meeting. I can't, I don't have an organization here that I can, so that is my recommendation. And that is what I want to talk about. So, but that is only part of the story I would have to tell you. In 1962, an organization in Venezuela called Democratic Action. It had one member of parliament in Venezuela when they saw what January Singh had moved in British Guyana's Legislative Council, they began to demand a skibble. He says skibble was there. I wrote to Mr. Burnham and Dr. Jagan letters drawing this to their attention and suggesting to them that the thing to do, this is a British problem, let the British solve it before independence. Otherwise, we are going to be in a lot of trouble with a big military power like Venezuela. I also recommended to Mr. Burnham to start diplomatic activity and contact with Brazil, who is our neighbor. And they began to do that. At the time, I used to give them a lot of tips on foreign policy and recommendations of how to operate. Don't forget that after the 1964 elections, I am the person that Mr. Burnham asked to go to Africa to explain the political situation to the Africans. Why? I had been active during the election campaign, and Mr. Burnham offered me a big post. He wanted to send me to the United Nations as the country's representative after independence. I said, no, thank you. I'm teaching. There was a County High School, which became Republic Cooperative High School. I was very absorbed in teaching. Many students have come out of it, and it served to a whole range of villages. So I said, no, I'm not going. I'm not going there. He said, well, will you go to Africa to explain the political situation? You see, of the several African countries, the bulk of them were supporting the PPP because of Jagan's connection with the Soviet Union and the loud noises that they made and so on. They saw black people as agents of imperialism. They called us agents of imperialism. And that's why Mr. Burnham wanted me to go to Africa to explain the political situation, the racial division, and all of that. I said I will gladly do that. I said I will gladly do that. So at the end of 1964, just before he became officially sworn in as prime minister, they arranged for me to get a visa pass to the United States, go to pass through England, go to Africa to explain the political situation. I'm the person that did that. And I didn't have to tell any lies. I used the official figures and showed how people responded to them. I argued, you see, they were saying that the Constitution was filled with Dr. I said, yes, the Constitution was filled, but Dr. Jagan did not have a majority. He ruled with a minority government with the support of the British and some nominated members, and that was unsatisfactory. So in any case, it was not a democratic government, and that I have the figures to back that up. I was able to show that the voting system before proportional representation was brought in was unfair. The PPP, I argued, oh, let me tell you what happened when I was passing through the United States of America. In passing through the USA, I have been banned from the USA from 1953 because of the communist label. Now, when I was on the way to Africa on Mr. Gordon's behalf, since he had been approved as Prime Minister, I had no problem. They got the visa for me. I didn't even know what a visa was. I passed through. And at the United Nations, the Africans demanded a meeting with me. I had to address the group of African countries at the United Nations on my way to Africa. Most of them were pro-PPP. When they think of any meeting convened, I went to short notice. The afternoon they came, we searched around, and I had to address them. Now these are people who are seeing us, seeing me and other Africans of Guyana as stooges of imperialism. That's how the people labeled us. Because they were very anxious to get control of the country, to run it their way, as they're doing now. You know, big contract, contract is a key word in Guyana. Contract. Yes, contract. My first statement to this meeting of the African group, as I passed towards this, the fight for independence of Guyana began in 1763. When Kofi and Akara and Akabre, Africans from West Africa, raised the banner of revolution and held for being 11 months as an independent state before the Dutch sent in troops from St. Eustatius and crushed Jericho. And we remember after all of them were coming to me, you must go and see, you must go to the old country, you must go and see, you must go and see your the Prime Minister, go and see the old man in the old country and tell him what that explain. In that 1964 election, my friends, in 1961 election before PR, proportional representation, the PPP won a seat for every 4,500 votes it had. PNC needed double those votes to win the same one seat. And the United Force needed even more to win one seat. So the voting worked in favor of certain people because of how the population was distributed. That is why PR was a step forward, made things proportional. You get 10% of the vote, you get 10% of the seat. It was not like that before. And I had to explain that. And I use the election figures to explain. No, there was a certain resentment Burner was prime minister by certain sections of the population. Simply on very narrow grounds. One leader called him the grandchild of a slave or something like that. So you can see where that is coming from. But the point I want to make is that this resentment led to a certain campaign in the Rupununi. Rupununi had some people called Hearts and Melville families, two big families. Somebody there knows them. Yeah. Their names are in print all over the place. They were big cattle owners, owned the ranches, owned the land, and they didn't feel that they should be submitted to a prime minister of African descent. There was something called the Amerindian Rebellion. You heard about it. It was not an Amerindian rebellion. It was these families in league with Venezuela trying to stir up trouble and take the Rupununi out of Guyana, attach it somewhere else. All of that went on. And they called it, they brought arms. There was some fighting, a few people died, some policemen were killed. Um, one of them was had the name Mackenzie, a neighbor of mine, a young fellow. But Mr. Sissim Mercurius, CKS Mercurius, called Brev, and I went to the Rupununi and carried out a survey, village to village. We went and questioned people about their connection with this uprising. It was put in the papers of an Amerindian uprising against the new government coalition. ASCRIA, the organization I was in, I was not in the PNC. ASCRIA, the African Society for Cultural Relations with Independent Africa, which also supports indigenous people everywhere. In Africa, in India, in Guyana, we support the original people of each country. We said, no, this is not an Amerindian revolt. This is what I'm telling you here now is in the print. In print, if you look it up on the internet, you'll find it. Said this was the rising of the Savannah barons. The barons of the Savannah put guns in the hands of their employees to destabilize the government. And all of this was being done on behalf of Venezuela because Venezuela wanted a piece of theirs. I hope this is very clear. So that is what went on. And we wrote this report and handed it in to the Interior Department. I've heard nothing more about it. But Brev and I interviewed people. And the most important thing I want to tell you, this is shocking. It is known that certain priests had to be expelled from the Rupununi Roman Catholic priests had to be expelled. They told congregations of um, indigenous people that African men carried hooks on their penises. They could injure them. They preached that from the pulpit. One priest in particular, he was expelled after a time. But we got this from people, from the villagers. That's the kind of campaign they carried on in their desperation. The same kind of thing was happening here, something moving up the ladder during the Obama presidential campaign because of who he was. He wasn't born here and North America and all kind of foolishness. So these people have their ways of fighting. I mentioned that to show that the Venezuelan thing has deep roots and should not be taken lightly. And that is why I recommend that there should be an all-party, the way it runs, which is have an all-party institute, organization. I'm not talking about a political party now, I'm talking about something above, something that contains everybody in defense of Guyana's territorial integrity, which is a long-term thing, not something only for this week or next week or for an election campaign. And what can they do? What can such an organization do? Diplomatic work. There are some organizations on the continent, South and Central America, like the OAS, the Organization of American States, and others that are against territorial grabbing. We have to organize and send people to each of those organizations to keep them abreast of what is happening. Venezuela is staging provocations of Guyana, shooting up people, opening fire at the army, and all that kind of thing. Provoking, trying to provoke incidents. And they hope to get the better of it. We cannot be idle and stand up and just look at it and say, protest. We have to be active and visit every capital with a small detachment of people from all parties, putting on pressure and exposing what Venezuela is doing. And in this way, defend our territorial integrity and have something to hand down to the generations to come. It's not my generation is gone. Yeah, I'm the only one left, perhaps. My generation of political people is gone. So what I'm saying is not something I hope to inherit. It's something am wanting us to hand down to the forthcoming generations who are now growing up They must have their own dirty. Must not be taken over by neighbors. Neighbors have their own dirty. And this is all. That is the spirit in which I wanted to recommend to your leaders that we have a motion, and I'm recommending it to you. I hope your leaders are here and can guide us what they feel. I haven't come here to push anything down anybody's throat. I was invited. That's my opinion. And I hope we can have a resolution saying, and if we get this resolution, we send it to everybody in Guyana. We can consult about who to send it to. Saying that there should be an all-party organization, not a political party, an all-party organization defending the historic rights of the people of Guyana of all generations to our territory. I will stop there for the time in case you have any questions, but I hope I have said all that is necessary to say to convince you that the task of the moment is defense of the motherland, defense of this home territory, defense of what we fought for, what our parents fought for, and what we have inherited and should pass on to later generations. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Baba Eusi, for that well-informed and enlightened conversation. We'll open the floor for any kind of interaction. You may have a question or a comment. Go ahead, Paul.
Greetings, Baba. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for this forum. I have a question from a comrade in England who's listening on WhatsApp, Brother Ray Hendricks, some of you might know him. And so it's a rather longish question. You can see it on my phone. Let me see if we can hear him and he can say, Ray, are you there? Do you want to very briefly ask the question that you text me?
Hear it. Baba may not be able to.
Oh yeah, Baba might not be able to hear it, but so here's the question. You read out the. Go ahead, Ray. Go ahead and speak. I hope you could hear you.
Generation, because my mother would have been a year younger than him. Would have reached our 100th anniversary this year. So the people who are Guyanese people who are now in their hundreds come from a special group. So I send my congratulations to Brother Eusi for lasting the course. We had a meeting here, or it wasn't a meeting, it was an assembly to mark the 60th anniversary here in London. An assembly of Guyanese under the title of the Guyana Folk Day. And we had somebody who is one of Brother Eusi's generation, Mr. George Trotman, who was asked to share her memories of taking part in the vote in 1953, in the elections in 1953. And she explained the political situation which existed Guyana, led by the People's Progressive Party, which at least seemed to indicate the direction forward. It lasted, as Brother Eusi said, it only lasted 123 days. But there was a unity, and Brother Eusi has mentioned that unity, which needs to be reformulated if we are to pose a common front to this situation with the border dispute. But none of that seems to be part of the agenda of either the government at home or their political representatives, certainly here in England. I don't know what's happening in the US and Canada, but nobody is talking about that unity of purpose. So I just wondered if you could make a comment on that.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks.
You heard, Baba? In summary, brother Ray Hendricks was calling from England. Brother Ray Hendricks was is tuned in from England. And he said, in summary, in short, that there was a gathering in England where someone of your generation, whether Joyce Trotman, was there and made a point that during the time of the government, which was suspended after 123 days, there was a certain type of unity. There was a certain type of unity, basically. And that it seems that that unity doesn't exist in today's political scene in Guyana, kind of what you've alluded to already. So he asked you if you had any comments on the lack of unity. Use the
Yes,
your microphone.
this in fact is what I was hinting at, saying. Oh, sorry.
Microphone.
I agree with you. There's lack of unity on that front. Total lack of unity on that front. And there ought to be unity on that front. It doesn't mean that you agree with the government. It means you agree with the future, you agree with the claim that this thing is Guyanese. And I support entirely if that is what you're saying. That this point needs to be emphasized. Honestly, that's the reason I came to this meeting, to make that point. I can't come here to talk abstractly about this person or that person. These men are dead. You talk to them, are both not here. They don't anymore, and I am lucky to be left hanging as it were, alone, and I'm prepared to do my part to encourage the future generation. So the brother who spoke just now is quite correct. There's lack of unity, essential unity on essential matters, such as the border and the future of the territory that we are to hand down to people coming after us. I fully support that sentiment if that is what he is saying. Fully support it.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I want to ask. If he has a conversation.
Good evening. My name is Zeno Fari Thompson. I'm a member of the Guyana Association from the member consultancy. I'll have to raise two questions with Baba. We see, one is that there was the 1899 arbitration award that was made that says should have settled the Guyana dispute. It was, of course, went by the Venezuelan government, and there was up to very recently a court listening to the debates. And some of us might listen, I listened to quite a few yet. I think Guyana, the delegation and those who represented Guyana, to me was adequately represented. I didn't hear anything about Venezuela. So my question to is it that you don't have confidence in the outcome of that action?
You heard the question, Mama? You heard the first question?
No.
He was saying that the the arbitration in the 1890s should have settled everything, but up to recently, as you know, the court, the ICJ was hearing the case,
Yeah.
and he felt that the Guyanese did an adequate job in representation. So he's asking, is it that you just don't have confidence in that? Is it?
What might be the outcome
Oh, I see. Yeah.
of the deliberations? In fact, you
Confidence.
said that you don't have any
I,
belief in
I listen. I listen to Guyana's case. It is well presented.
Yeah, I agree that.
In international matters, we cannot sit and wait. If you look at all the active organizations on the international front, they're not sitting and waiting because of confidence. They're active and promoting their point of view so that people do not forget. Anything can happen. These are oil companies. The oil company in Guyana, ExxonMobil, and the US government are very close together. They're as one. The Guyana government is a kind of junior partner to those. All of those matters play out in the international scene. What happens behind the scenes? This is why this man can come up and say that there was fraud at the time of the arbitration in 1999 because he knows what sometimes happens behind the scenes. And he's hinting at something like that which cannot be established, apparently. So it's not that I don't have confidence in Guyana's case. I have full confidence in it. I learned it in primary school. I knew this case in my time. But the international decisions are taken largely on account in the light of the agitation that goes on. If you look and see how various organizations are behaving, you don't see them lying quiet and depending on some opinion from above. They're active and they're promoting their well-known positions daily. And I'm saying that Ghana is too complacent, be too quiet about this. Venezuela is not quiet. Venezuela is shooting and sending missiles. I don't know, and sending what disturbing opening fire on army units and that kind of thing, and agitating all over the place. Why should we be silent when we have a claim and have put it before the International Court? The Geneva Agreement is something I know about. I know about trying to being drafted, and the solution, Venezuela's argument, the solution is not according to the Geneva Agreement. They're putting a different interpretation on it. The Geneva Agreement said if arbitration doesn't work, the Secretary General has to decide on a means of settlement, and that is what the Secretary General decided on the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, should settle this thing. And Venezuela does not like that. So that's the only answer I can make to that question, sir. I do have confidence in Guyana's dream. I have had that confidence all these years. I've written on Venezuela. You look on the internet, you'll see my 1963 article. I said that independence was no longer an issue. It has been decided that all these countries will become independent, and now we have to work on the conditions of independence. Because one of the foregone conclusion is you can't continue colonies eternally. So my answer is yes, I have full confidence in Guyana's case, and that is why I want us to back it up with further mobilization so that, we have a saying in Creole, ashes cold dog lay down.
I like that.
Yes, you don't want the ashes to cool. And we don't want to take chances and just depend on others. We have our own energies that we can put it with. That's all the people are doing. Venezuela is not standing still. And if Venezuela, the claimant who wants this thing illegally, is not standing still, why should we, to whom it belongs, stand still? As though be willing for dog to come lead on for that for now. That's my answer.
Thank you very much for your response.
Thank you.
Based on much of what you said, I have a second second question. Not a second question, but a position of mine. I think the recommendation you're making to this body of a motion is a serious and genuine one. Except that we as a body cannot make that motion. But certainly, it's something that we should be taken up by the association itself, which has that credibility. But certainly, I agree with what you're saying. I came up as an advocate from the trade union movement, so the part of it I know very well. Part of which got me in this country. But so I know it's a good idea to please send a motion. To me, what you're suggesting is it's not controversial. It's a simple motion. That hey, man, get up and let's do something. Let's all come together and do something. Everybody been saying that along, so I'm glad you came up with that. Thank you very much. Okay.
You hear this quick, Baba? You were saying that he agrees with your idea about the motion, but only with the caveat that this body gathered here today doesn't have the credibility, as he put it, to make that motion. It would have to be put to the Guyana Association. So we're using the space of the Guyana Association, but this is not an official Guyana Association meeting.
Yes, yes. But you should know that part of it. I understand that. I understand what you're saying. I thought it was official meeting. Um, it cannot be, it can be done in the name of those gathered here. And we don't have to have names. We can select some names of those who don't mind being named. But it does not have to be the association. It can be a gathering of citizens of Guyana. And we don't, I mistakenly thought that this was an association meeting. And if it's not, I apologize to the association for thinking that they invited me. The group of citizens who can have freedom of expression, freedom of association, freedom to meet and to express opinions. And that is the right we are using. We do not have to use the name of the association if it does not apply.
Go ahead.
So that point is well taken.
Sir,
And yes,
with your very vast wealth of knowledge and experience all over the world, I should say, you have studied people, their behavior, all the whys and the way forth. Could you advance one or two reasons why you think we so lack unity, which we all know is strength at this time?
Did you hear the question?
no,
She was asking, with all of your vast knowledge and your study of people, your observation of people and maybe systems, could you advance maybe one or two reasons why it is that we lack the unity that is necessary at this time? The unity that is the unity that you speak about. Is there anything in your mind that you would say would be some of the reasons that you can point to why this unity doesn't exist?
oh, I see you're asking me a sociological question. Asking me to become a sociologist and not a sociologist. It is true because it is due to competition. You see, we are in a system of Western democracy in which competition is the game. You have to compete with others.
I'll hold the mic for you. I'll hold it.
They begin now to. We are hiring think tanks from the USA. The political parties in Guyana are paying big money to be advised by groups of people in the USA who have influence. This happened in the election before the last one. The PPP had a big right wing, I forget what they call them, lobbyists, paying millions for advice. So we don't stand still these days. We understand the question. It is due to the spirit of competition and the fact that we all want to outdo the other. We want to come ahead of the other. So we feel if we come together, other people will get some of the credit. And they want all the credit to go to one source, one person. That's the only answer I can make.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. I want to thank Kofi for bringing his father, Baba Eusi Kwayana, on this occasion. And I would like to suggest that even though this body assembled here today doesn't have the authority or the power to forward the resolution, the Guyana Association of Georgia, because the resolution proposed is not political in nature, it's more of a national unity issue. We can present the resolution to what I call the interested parties in Guyana, which meaning all the political parties represented in the parliament, the Trade Union Council, the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, the private sector group in Guyana. So all the major social and cultural groups, we can forward a copy of this resolution because of its national unity, significance, and importance. We could campaign it from this end and say, look, based on a gathering we had here in Atlanta, cumulative discussions which were led by Eusi Kwayana, a distinguished
No, no, no,
No, we have to get to it because the initiative says we can mention his name. He's a noted and historical figure in Guyana. It's not going to cause any problems. So we can say, coming out of that discussion, out of that gathering, this is the proposal we want to send to the people in government of Guyana and social and cultural organizations. And there have to be a national unity drive to make sure this whole body issue isn't swept under the carpet or ignored. That there should be some national fire around it. So we're gonna try to once we get a summary from court and yourself,
Mhm.
and we're gonna promote the resolution forward to the interested parties.
Thank,
As president of the association and giving the word, that's what we done.
thank you. Thanks. Baba, did you hear? Did you hear?
No.
I just want to repeat to him because he's still in here. So the president of the Guyana Association is here amongst us, and he said that even though, as was repeated earlier, this body gathered here doesn't have the authority, according to him, to forward a resolution, he can guarantee that the Guyana Association will take up that resolution and forward it to all the pertinent social structures in Guyana, including the Chamber of Commerce and the Trade Union Congress, etc. Yes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Baba Eusi.
Somebody
My
greet him.
main reason for being here is because I heard you were going to speak. When I was growing up as a young man, I worked at a government printery.
Hold the microphone and respond when he's finished. Somebody's
Yeah, I
talking to
worked
you
at a
and
government
you can
printery.
respond when he's finished.
I'm low down, I'm not hearing, I didn't hear all your words.
Yeah, I'll repeat to you. I'm just giving you the microphone so you can respond when you're ready.
What is it?
Not yet. Well, not finished yet. Yes, sir.
Yes, I grew up as a young man in from Amsterdam, but I worked in Washington at a government printery. And I know about Baba Eusi because all the main office was in Main Street. And lots of times I would pass around when Baba Eusi was carrying out he was sitting in front of the government house, he was carrying out a protest. I used to pass and see him there. And then I know a lot about him because we used to do the Hansard, which is the report of the Legislative Assembly, and also we work with the Quantum. But I want to let him know that we shouldn't worry too much about Venezuela now because last month Ronald Austin and Mr. Greenwich, they went to The Hague with a committee and they spoke about Guyana and Venezuela. And we shouldn't worry with Venezuela because Venezuela is worried who's going to rule them now. They ain't got time to, so we should worry about what is America going to do when they're ruling Guyana, if they're going to come over. They're ruling Venezuela, if they're going to come over to seek the oil because we know who's leading them there. So I just want to say that it was very pleasant listening to you. And rest assured, sir, all that you have done, a lot of people don't know a lot about you, but he belonged to three, I would just tell them, he belonged to three political parties, and he wrote the songs for all three parties. And he had a school, and he had I don't know if there are any students in here, but my good friend, Hilton Hemmerding, who is brother of Claude London, who's a member here, used to teach at that school, and Hilton is also a student at that school. And my good friend Edgar Henry, who wrote the book, and Baba Eusi wrote the foreword for that book. So, as I said, it's a pleasure being here. Thanks for being here, and happy 101 birthday. Keep the bat and pat together.
Thank you very much. Thank- I'm very glad to hear the but one official of the Island Association responded by saying what can be done with such a resolution. Thank him for that. Making a concession because I don't like to trespass on people's authority.
Baba,
But I'm activist by nature.
let's put the mic closer to
I'm an activist by nature and do not feel that we should remain silent when we have a case because if you look at the international scene, this is not how business is conducted. People are on the ball all the time with what they want to promote. It's happening in this country, film on streets, it's happening in various countries. We cannot assume that right will prevail. We have to make it happen. Yeah.
All right. Take it, Baba.
Is there any further question? Discussion? All right, thanks again, Baba Eusi, taking time to be here with us to share your wisdom, knowledge, and experience. I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Let you know this is you're all guinea pigs. This is an experiment I'm carrying out here. As part of our city, not including Baba. As part of our sixth set, as you know, we started with a 1 day as association hung on a Sunday. Then we went to the Friday night gathering. Right? Then the Thursday night, which tomorrow night we have flag raising. Today, Wednesday, we're doing this, and we're hoping to continue. In other words, we want to do something like they do in New York. New York has a whole week of activities leading up to, yeah. It's called- Right? So we want to do the same thing. And what better way could we extend this day by inviting the legend? All right. Thanks again. You know the words? Anybody know the words to want to, not.
I didn't hear any remarks, Coach.
Hmm?
What you said?
He was just thanking everyone for coming. And he was just thanking everyone for coming
Oh,
and speaking about the week of events that the association is putting on around the anniversary of the independence. Yes. They're trying to figure out who's going to lead the singing of Not a Blade of Grass.
Why did she go for it?
Hold on. Hold on, Marvin. Marvin, hold on a second.
Yeah, sorry I'm waiting this late to.
Mike.
Sorry I've waited this late to recognize Brother Eusi being Bostonian, where he's from in Guyana. He knows my entire generation. My dad happened to be Leon Thomas, and I know he would recognize that name. My aunt was Nellie Thomas. She was a midwife who delivered hundreds of babies in Boston and around that area. Can you Ask him if you know stuff like that.
Baba? The woman speaking said her father she's a Buxtonian. Her father was Leon Thomas, and his mother is Melly Thomas. Yes.
That recognized, you know, who's Thomas.
Yeah.
Nurse Thomas, right. Yeah, she delivered many babies in Buxton. And so I want to take this opportunity personally to thank you. And this happens to be, I think, the second or third occasion that you've been here in Atlanta. And I made sure that I was present to, you know, acknowledge you and say how proud I am of you, you know, representing our country and our village.
Sure.
Or I would have tried to catch all the monsoon. But you know, I think, you know, they will be proud that I stood up and recognized you
Sure.
and let them know that you like this for all of us. Thank you.
Good,
So
thanks.
thank you very much. Ready?
You the Thomas is not Nurse Thomas.
You say, Baba? Yeah. Y'all don't know this song? Okay.
Mr. Leon Thomas.
What you say, Baba? They're singing a song right now. They're singing with a blade of grass, Baba.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Thanks, Bob. Thank you.